All right, we're going to move on to our next category, which is a category that some years we don't have, some years we do, but this was a particularly strong year for the adventure genre.
I feel like this category is going to be around for many years to come. This genre is back with a vengeance.
It really is. And indie and middleware tools have really helped that genre come around. I think it's also been proven that you don't need a huge budget to make a great adventure game. Yeah, the indie stuff coming out in this genre has just been impeccable this year. It was really hard for me personally to make a choice on this one. Also, it's a genre that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's a genre that I think of when I think about my early days in gaming, particularly with PC gaming. And so it's, I think some people maybe don't care about this genre that much, but people like us who have been playing for a long time, it's kind of near and dear.
Right.
So
it's like how, if I'm being super honest, my favorite adventure game of the year was Full Throttle Remastered, but that didn't count because it was a remaster.
Right.
But if you haven't played that, go play it.
It would have easily won, right?
Right.
If it came out this year, and
but
it was
you can't cheat and pick like one of the greatest adventure games ever made 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a satisfying
What
thing.
does that say for the developers of that genre?
It says that they've got big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I think. Some of the most creative and most intelligent people in game development history worked at LucasArts in the heyday of their adventure games, and it still shows.
It's true. So with all that in mind, Matt, what is your pick for best adventure game of 2017?
My pick is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yeah.
Which this one wasn't really fully on my radar because it kind of vanished for a while. In
like Ethan Carter,
the Vanishing Swan.
I forgot about that too.
That was their previous game.
Right.
But they had some trouble with this. Kind of had to tear it apart, put it back together a few times. Sounds like, and it just sort of took me by surprise. It came out, and I was like, oh, that's out. All right, I'll play that, sure. And like, yeah, it has sort of a thing where like you're like, is this like a sequel to Vanishing of Ethan Carter or something? But it's not. It's a totally different thing. It's and it's basically, I mean, part of it also kind of speaks to me because I grew up near the Winchester Mystery House, which if you don't know what that is, Google it. But it's a weird house where this crazy woman thought that if she kept building onto the house, the ghosts she was haunted by would leave her alone. And so the house is crazy. And you can tour it now. And so it's like 90 rooms and staircases go nowhere and doors open onto empty space. And so it's crazy. But like this is a similar kind of thing where this house has been built up and then like sealed up because all the people in the Finch bloodline have died incredibly strange, like ironic deaths, basically. And as you are the last descendant of this clan, and you go to kind of find out your family history, and you live in kind of magical realism dream sequences, the deaths of all these previous relatives as you explore their rooms in the house. And every sequence has a different style of gameplay. They're all kind of like little mini games. And some of them they're all like weirdly morbid, of course, because the end of them is dying. You die, your character dies in each of them. There's some really like sad ones. There's some very funny ones. There's one that is one of the best. It's late in the game, and I don't want to like give it fully away, but basically, with one analog stick or one hand, you have to do this incredibly menial task, and the other hand, you have to play an action RPG.
Wow.
And it's like the person who's doing the menial task is daydreaming about like a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And as the fantasy world takes over more and more of the screen, you have to do more and more complicated stuff while continuing to do the menial thing. And it's one of the most interesting portrayals of like an everyday situation. Everyone's had that job they're bored by, and like kind of it just becomes by rote, and you're doing what you have to do to get paid, but your mind is completely somewhere else. And it's one of the best ways of showing that I've ever seen in any entertainment medium. It's really clever, and there's a lot of that in this, and it is a little twee, and like when they won the game award, and the guy who made it with his wife, I guess, he got up, and I'm like, of course that's what you look like. Of course the guy who made this game wears a top hat. I knew that. But it's really, really cool. It's a quick, like, kind of 2 or 3 hour game. Very simple.
Not a walking simulator. I think maybe a lot of people have looked at this game and felt that's what it was, and some people are turned off by that genre, quote unquote.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's walking simulator-ish parts, but like the meat of the game are the mini games, and all of those play differently, and all of those test different skills if you want to get kind of the achievement for each one or whatever. But they all are interesting, and they're all like nothing else you'll play this year. the creativity on display is really impressive.
Probably get it pretty cheap at this point too, I'm guessing.
I would think it'd be, yeah, it would probably be a good end of year pickup. I would guess it's going to either is or will be discounted, at least on PSN. Because is it PlayStation only?
It is. Yeah. Well, PC. I think PC as well.
I think it is.
Right?
Yeah, because someone was talking about playing with a mouse.
Yeah, I think it was a timed exclusive on PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, if you have the patience for a walking simulator with like some inventive kind of magical realist, like there's actually there's a little bit of like Neil Gaiman to this, I would say. It's a little like it's hard to kind of really describe, but if you're into it, you'll get it immediately, and if you're not, well, you played something interesting.
Yep.
So that's my pick for best adventure game, because it managed to surprise me continually in a genre where I often feel like I've seen everything already.
All right, so my pick for the best adventure game of 2017 is A Night in the Woods. Let's see, where do I even begin with this game?
So I have not actually played this game. This is one of my failings of this year, is I didn't get to this one.
Well, this will not be the last time I mention this game in our Game of the Year episode. So the basic premise of the game is you're this cat that you're seeing right now, and you live in this world where animals act like humans, and you've essentially dropped out of college. And you come home, nobody meets you at the bus stop to pick you up, and you start reconnecting with all your old friends from your hometown where you went to high school and grew up. And as somebody who has moved away from where he was raised and where he was kind of went from a boy to a man and has been living in cities far away ever since, this game in particular connected with me hardcore, because whoever wrote this, you can tell, has been in that situation. It's very interesting, the writing and how they look at what it's like to come back to a town that you used to be a big part of and you haven't been a part of, and how you see some people haven't changed, other people have. The writing in this game is absolutely amazing, and a lot like Edith Finch, the gameplay variety in this game is it almost borders on action-adventure in some ways, because what you're seeing right now, there's this like isometric hack-and-slash part of the game that ends up being a significant part of the game, and it's done really, really well, and it's really challenging. But there's tons of other little gameplay elements. There's some light platforming, there's some music and rhythm stuff. You like rejoin with the old punk band that you were in when you used to live there, and you start practicing with them again. And then it gets into like some supernatural stuff towards the end of the game. And the story is absolutely incredible. Like what I just told you is really the setup. That's the first hour of the game. You getting acclimated to being back in your hometown and getting used to, and then running into people who are like, they're still in college, but you dropped out, and having that awkward conversation with people of like, why are you back here? Why aren't you at college? It is just an amazing, amazing adventure game. I loved every minute of it. The other thing, too, is it's a big game. It took me 8 or 9 hours to finish this game, which is really out of the ordinary, 1 for an indie game and 2 for adventure games in 2017. So I love the living tar out of this game. I highly recommend it. It just came out on Xbox One. It took quite a while to come out. And I think another big problem, too, why this got overlooked is when I was getting ready to put together my picks and gathering media for this episode, they've only put out like 3 trailers for this game.
Yeah, it hasn't been heavily pushed.
Ever. And so it was hard to gather media. I had not captured it when I played it. I didn't have time to go back and play it and to capture it, so I just had to grab the trailers that they had put out. There's hardly any. So they did not market this game especially well, but hopefully word of mouth on shows like this and other, I think it's going to get recognized in other awards around the industry as well. Hopefully it'll give it like a second lease on life. Yeah.
I would also say like my honorable mention in this category would probably be Thimbleweed Park.
That was a great one too.
The adventure genre had a good year.
It did.
Real good. Even in a year as good as this, that genre had a good year.
Absolutely. I had trouble, but honestly, you need to play this.
Yeah,
sounds like it. It is one of the best adventure games I've played in years. One of the best written games I've played in years. And again, it is huge. I can't even imagine what the script size was for this game. It must have been just thousands of pages. So there you have it. My pick for best adventure game of 2017, Night in the Woods.